Investment advisory services offered through Independent Solutions Wealth Management and Blackridge Asset Management, LLC. Peak Broker Services, LLC is not an affiliate of Independent Solutions or Financial Guys, LLC.
You're listening to The Financial Guys.
We're $23 trillion in debt, honey. We don't have an extra surplus of money.
Newsflash, guys, stop attacking businesses, because when all the businesses are gone, nobody's going to pay your salary anymore. You get that?
If the goal is to create a loser mentality, you're winning.
I'm going to build a big, beautiful wall with a big, beautiful door. Well, guess what? We have a big, beautiful door, all right. It's the wide open southern border, right?
Yeah.
Here's Glenn Wiggle and Mike Lomas.
All right, welcome back, everybody. You've got the Financial Guys, Glenn Wiggle, Mike Lomas here on the Financial Guys podcast. Thank you so much again for listening, watching, whatever you're doing. We certainly appreciate your support. We have crossed some pretty major milestones with the podcast recently, and we certainly, again, appreciate everybody that's listening and then sharing with your friends. We've got a great show lined up for you again today. I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about New York State as far as some of the things going on there, and then we're going to talk about some of the stuff going on nationally, of course, with Corona, some of the bills that just came out, the executive order, some comments from Mike Pence. We've got some sound clips to play as well, and much, much more. So stay tuned throughout the entire show. We got to start with this, though, Mike. This is just amazing to me. It's as if, like, you couldn't see this coming, right? New York, this is from Fox Business. New York City relocations accelerating at substantial pace. Wow. Local movers say, as if it wasn't bad enough being the number one state for mass exodus in the country, year after year after year.
A million people have relocated outside of New York in the last 10 years, Glenn. That will look like peanuts after this mess is over. And this isn't about COVID. This is about the insanity and the stupidity led by de Blasio in the New York City, and also followed up by Andrew Cuomo. And I know they somehow don't seem to get along together, but they do seem to support a lot of the same left-wing garbage, right? And people are just sick and tired of it. And what was it, 50% of the taxes in New York City are paid by the top 1%. And as Andrew Cuomo said, they're the most mobile people on the planet, and he's right. And guess what?
And bye-bye.
And bye-bye. They're leaving. That's right.
And it's not just the wealthy, Mike. It's everybody, right? People are scared. Well, I mean, sadly, there was somebody released in New York City, a rape suspect, right? I don't know if it was released because of COVID or released on a no bail ridiculousness, right? But he went on to rape somebody else, right?
Disgusting.
There was an 11-year-old girl this week, Mike, that was beaten up by 5 other girls as a police car, as about 20 police cars were there. A police cruiser was 1 car length away, and the cops sat there and did nothing. Now, again, the cops, I get it. Like, they're like, well, what do I do? Like, we're outnumbered. What do we do?
Hands are tied. That's what they wanted, though. That's what they wanted. They wanted the police to stand down, right? We defunded them. Get away from us. You're bad people. Okay, well, that's the result of that. When you tell police officers to stay away and eventually defund them, and they do, guess what? Your inner city people are going to get hurt. That's what the result of this
shootings are up, Mike, I think like 200 or 300%. So you've got crime running rampant. There's an article yesterday, a teenager was shot in front of her father. I mean, it's
another
outrageous.
Victim. Somebody got let out of prison and went back, accused of rape, let out of prison, and killed their victim, right? How disgusting is this? And by the way, for all of you folks, and I'm going to say this time and time again, I'm not wearing a mask. And I think, Glenn, you sent me this the other day. Or it was
the meme.
The meme, yeah.
Perfect,
If they freaking work, then we should have given them to all the prisoners instead of letting them out of prison.
That's right.
If all you liberals really believe that the masks are going to do anything, then you should have handed them out in prison and not let a rapist get out of prison, right?
Yeah, that was probably the best meme I've ever seen. I honest to gosh, whoever put that together was... it was really good. That was for Meme Monday. It's they lost me on the effectiveness of the masks when they released prisoners instead of just giving them masks.
Absolutely.
That's
Anybody
Peter
with a brain
Griffin.
in your head walking around with your mask thinking it's helping you, then we should. It's a lot.
Why didn't they? You're right, though. Why didn't they give them the prisoners? Why did they let prisoners out? And I'm not talking. Look, folks, when you hear, well, they let prisoners out of jail, most people are thinking, oh, well, it's probably like the guy waiting for the for the car theft, the auto theft.
Guy got a DWI.
They're releasing him.
Right?
Yeah, well, you don't need to be sitting in jail. No. We're talking violent assault. We're talking rapists. We're talking everything short of murders. And I'm not even sure of murders. Pedophiles? I mean, really. So you wonder why people are fleeing New York City. New York City is going to hollow out. It's going to be worse than Chicago. Mark my words.
Venezuela.
It's going to be worse than Chicago. Chicago is like a war zone, right? I mean, just an absolute war zone.
And then you've got the leadership there going, well, the police, we still don't need them here. Everything's fine. The media's blowing this out of control.
It's unreal.
Did you see de Blasio now. He wants to take the vacant hotels that are there and turn them into homeless camps for these folks, right? That'll end up just great.
Is he buying the hotels? Is he going to with whose money? Is he going to force the
our money? Every New York State taxpayer. That's who's going to be ended up funding that garbage. Yep.
So he's gonna buy these hotels. Are they selling these hotels? Are they up? Are they just vacant?
I guess. My guess is there's going to be more vacant hotels too.
I'm sure.
It's going to continue.
Who would go to New York City right now?
There, you're going to have walls. Watch and see how these barriers go up. Right. You're going to have some of these vacant properties knocked down by the wealthy.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to build a wall around them.
Oh,
so
yes.
inside New York City, you will have these special safe camps that are just fine. Yeah. And you'll have basically, as you pointed out, Glenn, war zone Chicago now inside New York City.
Well, the sad thing with New York City is that you cannot own a handgun in New York City, right? Unless you're politically connected, unless you're Alec Baldwin, right? It has private security or whatever. Andrew Cuomo, right? You cannot in New York City get a pistol permit to carry a pistol. So how do you defend yourself? There was a daughter and a father. The father was knocked unconscious and kicked in the head. He's in the hospital. The daughter was beaten up. She was 12 years old. Like this happened inside of a deli, right? A bodega, they call it deli, right? This is crazy, right? This is nuts what's going on in New York City. And you can't even defend yourself. That's the most frustrating thing. Nope. Folks, if you're in New York State, I don't care where you are, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't yet gone and gotten your concealed carry permit and have prepared to defend yourself for the lawlessness that's going on in our streets, what are you waiting for? Seriously. I'm not advocating violence, but I'm also not advocating victimhood either, right?
No.
Don't sit back and be a victim.
You're
not
advocating violence. You're advocating protecting yourself. By the way, we will be doing gun training classes inside. Kelsey put it together yesterday, the dates for that. So.
Yep, and I have a private range in New York so that the office folks can come out and practice at the private range. We should bring out an instructor to the range and actually do some on-range instructional classes. We have enough people, we have enough targets, we have enough room to do it and safely. Yep. So maybe we'll do that sometime in September and get a whole class going.
Sticking with the theme of New York State, and I got a bunch of articles here. Some of them we passed back and forth to each other. A federal judge rules wedding receptions in New York State can be held at 50% capacity and not capped at 50 people. But the little fine print in this is that it was Arrowhead Golf Course, which God bless them for stepping up to the plate. They spent nearly $40,000 just on attorney bills to try to fight. They sued Andrew Cuomo and New York State and won. But, of course, dirtbag Cuomo and his buddies and all his dirtbag Democrat friends actually took this place's liquor license a few hours prior to the ruling of this, right? And now, the evidence is clearly mounting that he's done this multiple times to people, right? And which is really scary. I mean, that is really, for those of you, and you Democrats that say, well, they should have listened, blah, blah, blah. You have no idea. No. And Glenn, you've been saying this for a long time. The monster will eventually come for you. And eventually it will, right? It'll be your job. How could that be? Well, I'm sure you work for some kind of government agency, right? That government agency is going to run out of money. That's what the problem with socialism, folks, is you eventually run out of other people's money. We are at that point in New York State. We are running out of other people's money. So eventually you will be a victim of this, right?
But this
eventually
is just
it'll
tyranny.
catch up to you.
This is just out and out tyranny, though, Mike. This is absolute abuse of power. Here's what happened, folks. So a couple of couples, I think, along with this golf club, sued New York State, right? So they sued. They got the injunction. They got the ruling that they wanted to that allowed them to move forward with the wedding. The day before, I think it was this past week, the day before the judge goes to rule, they strip the liquor license from Arrowhead Golf Course. The day before they're going to lose the ruling, they stripped the liquor license from Arrowhead Golf Course, essentially putting them out of business.
Outrageous, the ruling, right? So they should have never done that. That's what the judge is saying.
You lost.
You should have never done that. You lost, right? But these dirtbags, Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz, shame on you. Andrew Cuomo, shame on you, right? The Health Department, the Empire State Development Corporation, all of you. How in the world do you do this to a business in Western Area, especially out in Arrowhead? First of all, this is not New York City where these people can't, socially distance or whatever, which by the way, I'm so sick and tired of. Don't tell me I need to socially distance in places. It needs to stop. It has to stop. We have to go back to some kind of a normal life cycle The flu is starting to burn itself out.
You can pack into a funeral for what's his name? John Lewis,
John Lewis,
right?
yeah.
You can pack into a funeral for him. You can pack into a funeral for George Floyd. That's no problem.
Not a problem.
Give me a break.
Not a
Give
problem.
me a break.
Not a problem. All these elected officials can fly into town and fly wherever they want to, but the rest of us are supposed to socially distance and wear our stupid masks and all that other garbage.
But this is absolute tyranny, folks. This is and if you didn't catch last week's radio show, go back and listen to that. It's on. There's a piece of it. What do you call it? A snippet? Help me out here, Lily. What is it called?
It's a snippet.
A segment. A section.
snippet.
Whatever. Snippet. A snippet. No.
Snippet.
A snippet. There you go.
A snippet.
I'm thinking tidbits. I got donuts on my mind. What do you want from me?
Out of all the things, snippet would have been one I would have predicted.
Anyhow, it's a small clip from last week's show is posted to our Twitter feed at FinGuys if you haven't seen that, or just go back and listen to the whole show. We did about a half-hour interview with the brother of the owner of one of the bars that came up with a very creative menu, we'll call it. Liquor Authority, again, walks in. I don't like those three at the bar there. They're not eating. Of course, they could be waiting for their food. They don't know. You're shut down, right? Yeah. They're shut down because they had a menu that Cuomo didn't like.
That's right.
Cuomo is a petty dictator. He's a petty dictator.
And obviously, it's his
but this is
cronies in Erie County, right? Because I don't think he's flying here to do it himself.
No, he's getting reports.
Got his cronies in Erie County.
That's right.
Folks like Mark Poloncarz who are going to do whatever he tells them to do, right? And then the leadership going down. We're going to support our buddy Andrew, and we're going to go in and just shut you down. There'll be nobody left for you health officials to, by the way, supervise, right? Let's see, Washington Square Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
It's been open since 1967 here in Buffalo. Really, a fixture downtown. Many before ball games, many before the hockey games. I know we've gone there a bunch of times after work when we used to work downtown there for a beer and meet the guys. It's really sad. It breaks my heart. 1967. You imagine all the socialism that this place and all the regulations that this place had to go through since 1967. And Mr. Poloncarz, Andrew Cuomo, you won. You took them down. That's what your goal was. You won.
How do you work for the state liquor authority? Know that you're being used as a hammer to abuse businesses and used by a tyrant, and then go home and put your head on a pillow and actually get a night's sleep. I don't get it.
I don't know.
I don't get
it.
I
really know.
I don't get it.
I don't know.
Anyway.
By the way, I continue to please, if you know any of these folks, I want to track them down and interview them. I won't say your name. I want to find out who they are, and I want to make sure they're social distancing, because I would bet everything that these dirtballs walk into a bar, they put them out of business, and then they go home and have beers with their buddies and
for
neighborhood parties.
Oh, they're having backyard picnics
Sure.
and bonfires. I guarantee you, they're not following any of the same stuff they're enforcing. That's typically how it works, by the way. It's coming to Cuomo.
Track them down.
Yeah, Cuomo can fly to Georgia and fly back. He cannot wear a face mask. We're the little people, Mike. So
he's essential.
He's
ding,
essential.
Ding, ding, ding,
yeah,
ding. I'm essential.
Anyway, just real quick, folks, if you like what you hear, if you like this podcast, you do us a favor, subscribe so that you get all the updates. If you hit the bell, if you're watching on YouTube, the notification bell, you'll get updates whenever we put a new a video out or new piece out. Oftentimes, we're doing just the podcast each week, but we are starting to put more and more videos up on our YouTube channel. At least I hope we're starting to. We should be. We're trying to. We had day jobs, right? So we work throughout the week. We manage money from Monday through Friday with across a couple different companies that really provides a one-stop financial shop for our clients. So I would love to do this every day and do nothing but podcasts and content and stuff like this. We really enjoy this, but unfortunately, we actually have to pay the bills with the day job. So if you like this, do us a favor, share this, subscribe to it, and then hit the icon so you get notified. We do appreciate it. It helps us a lot. Hit the thumbs up button as well. I think that helps us too to get the more positive feedback, the better. So appreciate that. Yeah. Mike, also in New York State's true nursing home death toll cloaked in secrecy. I wonder why that is, right?
Right. Never know. You'll never know, by the way.
No.
This is so corrupt, this state. You will never find out the true death account, right? Now we know, by the way, it's not just New York, it's not just Florida, it's also California that's making up some of the death numbers and the COVID numbers and all that stuff.
But especially New York.
The other day.
Especially New York.
Right? New York wanted to do whatever they could to include every death as COVID.
Yep.
until we found out that most of the deaths were in nursing homes, and it was because Andrew Cuomo specifically pushed sick people, COVID-positive people back into the nursing homes, infecting other residents in the nursing homes, and basically killing them. And so now we needed to back off from those numbers. But you know what's really funny to me, Glenn? They never once changed the top-line number. They backed off from it and said, well, those people died of pre-existing conditions. But it's so important to keep that high-level number of 32,000 to show everybody that we're winning in New York State.
But I think that he's way below when it comes to the nursing home deaths were reported at about 6,000, 6,500. But let me just read the beginning of this. Riverdale Nursing Home in the Bronx appears on paper to have escaped the worst of the coronavirus pandemic with an official state count of just 4 deaths in its 146-bed facility. The truth, according to the home, is far worse. The truth, according to the home, is far worse.
So they must have been a late bloomer. A late bloomer means that they were after Cuomo getting busted.
Right.
Yeah.
The truth, according to the home, is far worse. 21 dead. Most transported to the hospitals before they succumbed. So it was a cascading effect, according to Administrator Emil, I won't even try to pronounce his last name, one after the other. New York's coronavirus death toll in nursing homes, already among the highest in the nation, could actually be a significant undercount. Unlike every other state with major outbreaks, New York only counts residents who actually died on nursing home property, not those who were transported to hospitals and died there.
They tried to get them back out first.
Right. So the statistics that's a statistic could add thousands to the state official death toll. So what they're saying is that, and even the Democrats are questioning this. This is from Senator Gustavo Rivera. A Democrat. He said, that's a problem, bro. Who calls the governor bro?
Elected
That's
official.
a direct quote from State Senator Gustavo Rivera, a Democrat.
It blows my mind even more that we elect these people.
That's a problem, bro. Senator Gustavo Rivera, a Democrat, told New York Health Commissioner Howard Zucker, I'm sorry, the health commissioner he called bro, Howard Zucker during a legislative hearing on nursing homes earlier this month. It seems, sir, that in this case, you are choosing to define it differently so that you can look better. Wow, Shazam! Wow. You nailed that one on the head.
Now, what's this guy's name?
Gustavo Rivera. He's a Democrat. He'll be gone.
Rivera's
He'll be gone. He's gone.
He'll be gone.
He went against the narrative. He's out.
Yeah,
he's out.
He will never, ever, I assure you, he will never get elected again. He will never get elected again.
Unreal.
Or he'll end up at the Water Authority. So, hey, just be quiet for a little bit.
Just be quiet for a little bit. Unbelievable. So anyway, New York is going to hell in a handbasket. We know that. New York City, there'll be nobody left. De Blasio, by the way, talk about not having any idea how capitalism works. He goes, well, we don't need those millionaires. We don't govern the city by millionaires and billionaires.
They pay 50% of the taxes. 50%. The top 1%. He goes, we don't need them.
We don't need them.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Good luck with that.
Okay.
Good luck with that.
Have fun.
Oh,
now,
my.
Does it mean they're never going to return to New York City? No, it just means they're not going to return for 6 months and a day.
No. I think a lot of these folks are never going to return to New York City.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
You've got, they're now.
The challenge has always been, like we always say with New York, is your family's here. Your friends are here.
Yeah.
You know, that's what makes it very challenging, and that's why most people stick around. It's certainly not because of the good tax structure or the good weather. It's the family and the friends and all the connections you've made, right? Well, which makes it a little bit sticky.
Yeah. Well, now they're going after like the Upper East Side and nice neighborhoods. Just wait until like an executive at Goldman Sachs gets assaulted, or the the CEO of J.P. Morgan. That if Jamie Dimon is out on the street and gets accosted by Antifa, you watch how fast they pull that entire company out of that city.
It's already going, Glenn. As you pointed out in the beginning of the show, the moving companies are the busiest
they can't keep
business.
Up. I'm thinking about we should start one. I'm thinking about hiring a truck or buying a truck and hiring some folks and going down and moving people. I mean, if you're out of a job right now, folks, it's seriously, and this is dead serious. If you can't find work, even though there's a lot of jobs out there, but let's say that you want to work, do your own. If you're looking to start a business, honest to God, buy yourself a U-Haul truck and go to New York City. You will have a plethora to move. Yep. I mean, you'll be busy for the rest of your life.
That would be the only business because everybody else is thinking,
that's it.
Gosh darn it, I don't want my windows smashed in after I open this thing.
That's right. That's right.
I don't want. Wait a minute. So let me get this straight. So not only do I have to put up with the highest taxes in the country, the massive amount of regulations, the extra New York City tax, right? Even Cuomo said the other day, said people are staying out in the Hamptons, they don't want to pay the New York City tax. I don't know. I think my 9-year-old could figure out, let's get rid of the damn taxes, right? Like, that's the problem, right? But they won't.
Well,
they won't. They'll make it even worse. It'll be more abusive. It'll be the New York State insurance or the New York State tax collectors will be out. They'll be this is my prediction. Write this down, Kels. The next, it will go from health inspectors to tax collectors. Watch and see.
Yep.
Health inspectors to tax collectors. They will be showing up at your properties. They will be knocking on your doors, trying to collect the 50 cents like the old milkman to try to pay up their bills because they are broke and they are heroin addicts when it comes to spending money. They cannot cut anything unless it protects you like the police.
If it's a police, they had no. De Blasio cut $1 billion from the police like that without blinking an eye. If it's that easy, like cut the budget back, right? Yeah. He's going to give that money right to his criminal wife,
We
Charlene.
have the highest Medicare by far. We're double whatever the states that are added up together like California and Texas. But there's got to be somewhere we can cut. I mean, how can Texas do this? How can California do this? How can Florida do it? There's got to be something we can cut in there. Nah,
only
not
police.
A penny.
Only police. Mike, you mentioned the taxes. That's a big deal. But I'm telling you, you talked about this years ago, and
safety's key.
Safety's key.
No doubt.
Absolutely. If you don't I don't care if it's the lowest tax environment in the country.
Yep.
If you don't feel safe, you're not going to live there, right?
Proof is Buffalo, New York, right? We talk about it all the time. The east side of Buffalo is the most dangerous place in Erie County. It is disgusting. It is vacant crack buildings, but it's the cheapest, right?
Yeah.
But nobody does business down there because it's not safe.
Exactly.
By the way, my next prediction is these malls, especially now the malls in good areas. So there's going to be malls. We have offices down in South Florida. Those malls will be just fine. Now, will they be all retail? No, but they'll reinvent themselves, right? So it'll be retail / condos.
Yeah, mixed use.
Mixed use. And I think condos are going to be a big thing because you're going to see people who will like to walk the malls, who like to go to dinner and walk and go to see a movie, but they want to live there. And you'll think you'll see more of that. My prediction, though, is you'll see places like the Galleria Mall turn into big crack houses. I mean, talk about a party zone, right?
Yep.
I mean, my wife was in there the other day, and she said, Mike, everything's going out of business. Everything is going out of business. How can they survive? Who else wants to go in there?
There's fights there every single weekend, Mike. Like if you're not going to, if you're going to go to the Galleria Mall, you got to go there like 1 o'clock on a Tuesday.
And
right?
armed. Yep.
And armed. Yeah. If you're going there,
there'll be nobody left in there, Glenn. It'll be vacant, rat-infested hole, and of course, we won't have the money here in Erie County to actually knock it over.
It'll just spread and bleed out, is what'll happen, right? The blight spreads like a cancer, unfortunately. All right, let's talk about some national stuff here. This out of Seattle, Washington, where the stupid just seems to have no end. It's this really struck me, and one of the things that struck me about this article, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the facts and the science. We got to do a montage. We got to get a montage together of all the times that these folks said, not once did they ever cite any studies whatsoever, but the facts, we followed the facts and the science. We followed the facts and the science. We followed the facts. It's obviously the Democrats put out a memo to everybody that said, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the facts and the science. Of course, not when it comes to opening schools. No.
We're moving from roads and bridges to children to
facts and science.
Yeah.
But this is actually, in their own way, what they don't realize the Seattle Times did is they basically admitted in this article that there is absolutely zero medical evidence, right? So here's what it says. Evidence is growing is what the title is, but what will it take to prove masks slow the spread of COVID? To definitively answer the question of whether masks protect against the novel coronavirus, here's what you'd need to do. Okay, let's stop right there. That's the first sentence.
Yeah.
So we don't have a definitive answer to the question. You just admitted it in the very first sentence of your article, geniuses. This is written by, I'll have to find the author here because
they'll do whatever
you're a real
it takes
winner.
to change the narrative to make sure they'll create their own science to make sure it works.
Here she is, Sandy Doughton, writing for the Seattle Times, wizard of smart here. I need to call her and send her an email to ask her why she wrote an article that basically backs up our point. Right. Evidence is growing. To definitively answer the question of whether face mask protects against the coronavirus, here's what you'd need to do. Recruit thousands of volunteers, randomly divide them into 2 groups, assign one group to always wear masks outside of the home and one group to never wear masks, wait a few months, see who gets infected, then sort out all possible confounding variables.
I actually think we did that.
Well, but not in a control group. Well, Sweden did it. You can look at different countries that some had masks and some not.
Yeah.
There's zero compelling evidence one direction or the other. In fact, in Holland, the chief medical health person, whatever the title is in Holland, came out and said, we're not wearing masks because there's zero evidence that they're effective at all.
Yep.
But the best part about this is not hard to do. Like a study like that would not only be tough to pull off, but unethical. Seriously, let's talk about unethical for a second. You're asking for volunteers to be injected with a experimental virus, right?
Right.
That's why you ask for volunteers.
Thousands of people.
There would be plenty of volunteers. I'll volunteer. So when I walk into a place, I can say I'm part of a medical study that was experimenting on whether masks are effective or not, right?
Here's what's unethical to me.
You could easily do this.
You take a business like this Washington, whatever the square was, Washington Square, I think it is down in Buffalo, who's been there since 1967, this bar and restaurant, and you wipe them out of business knowing nothing about, quote, the science, knowing nothing
and the facts.
About the facts.
Science and the facts.
Yeah.
And the data.
And then you dirtballs, you same dirtballs that throw these people out of business 2 streets over, literally 2 streets over. These folks are smashing windows, protesting without masks, breaking in and stealing stuff, and there's not a problem with that. But you somehow your moral compass allows you to say, well, you know what? It was just a short pause, and I'm sorry, but it was worth it. Too bad. Too bad they lost their business that's been there since 1967. It's really a shame, but we'll move on. You'll get over it. Somehow their moral compass gets them through that.
Yeah, well, that's okay, but they can't allow volunteers. So again, you can volunteer to be injected with an experimental vaccine. God only knows what's up. But you can't volunteer to simply go outside and not wear a mask. I mean, think about.
I'll volunteer for that study.
What's her name again? What's her name? Where is she? Sandy? Brandy? Sandy. Sandy Doughton here, Wizard of Smart with the Seattle Times. Nice work, Sandy.
We
you really
reach out there.
You nailed this one. You really did. I mean, again, you just basically said there's no study. You backed up my claim. Here's what they point to, by the way, and actually a friend of ours in the White House on the coronavirus staff mentioned this as one of the things they're looking at. This is absolute ridiculousness, right? The new research comes from laboratory tests of masks, observational reports, and deep dives into the data from places where masks were and weren't embraced. There are compelling case studies, including a beauty shop in Missouri where mask wearing by 2 unknowingly infected beauticians and dozens of customers seems to have prevented an outbreak.
Let me tell you something.
That's not a scientific study.
Are not catching COVID. Most people's systems are either catching COVID and it does zero to them, or they're just not catching COVID. Right? It's everywhere. We know that. It's just like every other flu. Every other year, just like every other flu, some people get it, some people don't. Mm-hmm. Some people get a little small case of it where they get the sneezels, and there's maybe they're coughing a little bit. Snizzles. Yeah. Some people cough a little bit. Other people get violently ill for a few days, right? We know in the beginning that this was a tough case. It was a respiratory flu. It was a little bit different, right? Yep. Very different today. By the way, don't tell me, you guys aren't doctors. We're talking to frontline COVID doctors. We've had doctor after doctor on this show, and they're all telling us the same thing. The people that are coming in with a severe case of COVID now, it is absolutely very different than it was 3 months ago.
Well, we have a friend that's got COVID right now. We have a conference call with him today. Yeah, actually. So he's working. Yeah. He's not working in office, obviously, but he's still working. Talking about this article, Mike, this Seattle Times reporter having absolutely zero self-awareness and writing an article saying to definitively answer, which we can't possibly do, which would be easy to do. They do studies like this all the time, by the way. Yeah. Right. So they look at this and they say, well, they couldn't. A study like that would be really tough. He'd have to have multiple cities and blah blah. They do studies like this all the time. If they wanted to do it, they could easily do it. They don't want to do it because it's about control, right? But speaking of zero self-awareness, I have to play this piece. This is a 1.5-minute clip from CNN. I haven't shared this with you yet, Mike. This will blow you away.
Before you do that, but Dr. Erickson, and we had Dr. Erickson on our radio show months ago, and he was talking about this. The biggest study we've ever done in the United States of America is to test lots of people for COVID and find out the death rate is way lower than we were told, right? Lots of cases, and now, of course, they're using all that against you. I used to say, if you want to go get tested, because we were told that if everybody gets tested, we know there's high numbers of COVID, but low death rates. it's in line with the normal flu. Of course, the minute they do that, then they say it's a hot spot. They lie about the numbers. It's supposed to be 9.8. Write it down as 98.5. Right. The biggest study we've ever done. Dr. Erickson nailed this. I'll give us credit because we nailed it months ago. We said the death rate will be less than the normal flu. It is. And don't tell me, well, it's double. It's bullshit. We were told 2 million people were going to die. Right. We're up to 140,000, including by the way, heart attacks are down. Cancer deaths are down.
How could that be?
How could God have said over the last quarter, you know what? I think I'm going to nail him with this COVID, but we're going to stop the heart attacks.
Yeah, we'll give him a break on
everything
everything else.
Brain.
Yeah,
Use your brain.
We'll give him a break on the cancer for a while, but I mean, come on. Look, here's the deal. I saw a research. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately, but I'll find it and I'll repost it. There was somebody did the analysis. They looked at the total death rate. So now we know things like 55,000 people a year die from car accidents. Okay, so that's 1,000 a week, roughly, right? Yep. So they did a study and they found that in 2018, in the month of July, they had 7,000 deaths a day in this country. 7,000 deaths a day. Now, the leading death is cancer typically, then heart disease and things like that. So 7,000 deaths a day in 2018 July. In the July of 2020, they're going, oh, my God, we've got 7,000 deaths a day. Okay, so there's not any excess. Look, I'm not saying this isn't a nasty virus, but what I'm saying is you're counting a lot of other things. What we should be doing is we should be looking at excess deaths, right? Yeah. So if on average we have 5,000 deaths a day in this country.
And now we're at 10.
Okay, you can safely assume that this is having a big impact. But when you look at the total number of deaths in the country, you say, well, yeah, we have 100,000 COVID deaths, but flu deaths, which are normally about 60, are down to 10.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Well, we're happy the other fit. Heart attacks way down.
40%. Heart attacks are down 40%. Let's go down. So miraculously, God said, you know what? We're going to give everybody healthy hearts for the quarter.
Right.
But
spare you.
we're gonna whack them with COVID.
That's
I mean, come on. Use your brain, folks. You Democrats, find one. Go find one somewhere. Really,
borrow one if you have to.
Borrow one.
Right.
Borrow one. Go watch The Wizard of Oz. Go see what you can do.
Right. So this is a follow-up on the absolutely zero self-awareness. And I don't know if these people actually believe this or they're just that clueless, but this will blow you away.
I truly think they're that clueless.
They may be. This is Brian Stelter on CNN with his guest. So this is hilarious.
Sort of sharpened their teeth on Bill Clinton. This has been the way they've built audiences for 3 decades now.
Yeah, I don't want to claim it's new. I just am arguing that it's getting worse. It's getting more severe. Aaron, your view of this, when you see entire media companies essentially exist to tear down Joe Biden, is there an equivalent to that on the left tearing down Trump?
There really isn't. And, what I would say, it's really a diet of this type of information that a lot of these voters are getting. A lot of the voters that I talk.
Okay, I'll stop it there.
Yeah,
Are you seriously that
no.
When we see this, the daily assault of Biden, an entire media company existing to.
What's the assault? The assault is we're playing his videos.
The assault, right.
Look at what Joe said.
The entire media, look at Fox News is who they're referring to, of course. Fox News has gotten better ratings than every other station, including like ABC, NBC, CBS. Fox News is crushing it when it comes to the ratings. Why? Not because they're just beating up on Joe Biden, because they're actually playing the clips of truth, right? Well, they're covering things in a fair way that's at least somewhat. Look, are they right-leaning? Of course they are.
Yeah, I don't agree with everything Fox does.
No,
but
I don't either.
They are showing some kind of fair and balanced, a little bit balanced, but these other stations, CNN, are just totally delusional, right? They make up facts. They do whatever they... Look at this. Come on.
I can't believe she said that.
Really, truly
I don't see that. Do we see anything that's equivalent on the left? No.
When Trump was running, I think it was outside of Fox, so something like 90 or 95% of all the things said about Donald Trump were negative.
Yeah.
Right? How could that be?
God, like 98?
How could that be? You're going up against, he was going up against Hillary Clinton, who was supporting her husband, who had been accused of rape, who had been on a plane with Jeffrey Epstein 26 times going to some island that we know pedophiles were there. I mean, he said she said she's all for these women, and then she's saying shame on these women for. So, I mean, you mean to tell me you couldn't find anything good about Donald Trump building up a huge business in the United States of America, employing thousands and thousands of people,
prison reform,
hundreds of thousands of jobs by the time his multiplier effect was done. You couldn't find anything positive,
No.
but Hillary Clinton, you could find all kinds of positive stuff for.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Right.
No, there's
Unreal.
no bias in the media.
Yeah, but there's the best part is is there anything on the left that's equivalent to that? No. No, I don't think there is. Seriously?
There's mirrors all around the studio.
Wow. Like, holy cow, man.
I don't
you
think
can't
so.
No, it doesn't seem to be anything
pretty
here.
fair and balanced
Yeah,
here.
seems like we're right on point. Like, holy cow. Wow.
We're pretty fair and balanced here.
Unbelievable.
We didn't talk about this, but I know you want to play another clip, but the bail reform. I still just, it just makes my stomach churn when I think about when you look back over the last few months and you think about what these Democrats have done. And again, if you're a Democrat, it's your fault. I'm sorry, but you mean to tell me that you think it's a good idea to tell me we need to let prisoners out of jail because we don't want them to catch the flu, but yet I have to wear a mask everywhere I go, and that mask is going to protect me, but yet we didn't hand them to these folks. And now we know some of them have come out and actually killed their victims, re-raped their victims. I mean, absolutely disgusting. I can't think of any Democrat, Republican. I can't think of anybody with a brain going, this is a great idea. This was well planned out. What a visionary Andrew Cuomo is. I mean, you'd have to be a total moron to think that's a good idea.
And the sickening thing is, Mike, is that it's not even just the politicians. It's some of these groups that actually help to pay bail, right? So remember, with Antifa, all of these celebrities, right? All of these Hollywood elites, like, I'll donate $1 million for bail.
Yeah.
Let me read this from the Boston Globe, Mike. Sex offender, free on bail, is charged with new rape. Sean McClinton had 2 prior rape convictions, right? 3 weeks after being freed from jail where he was being held on rape charges. Level 3 sex offender Sean McClinton faces new charges Thursday. They did it again, right? So here's the thing. New charges against McClinton, 39, sparked immediate criticism of the Massachusetts Bail Fund, the group that posted the $15,000 bail to set him free. First of all, why does a rapist only have a $15,000 bail?
Right.
Why wouldn't a rapist have $1.5 million?
$1.5 million.
Seriously.
$3 million. I mean, honestly, you can't even put a price tag on that, right? And I said prior to the show, we were talking a little bit about this. If somebody raped somebody I loved, I would want you out because I would kill you.
Well, why don't we should just track this guy down?
And I would write a book about why I smashed your head with a brick. That's
I think the police commissioner might beat you to it, Mike. Buffalo Police Commissioner William Gross, which is a good news, said he was absolutely appalled, good name, with that someone with McClinton's history would be freed. Quote, we're getting to a point in society where we're giving more credence to criminals than victims. We're talking about violent offenders. Right. Why would you bail somebody out who committed rapes? Right. McClinton, who was convicted of rape in 1994 and 2007, was in jail pending a rape case in Suffolk Superior Court, was held without bail Thursday. So he was rearrested. Now he's held without bail. So now at least the folks in Massachusetts are like, okay, we're not even. But seriously, officials at the bail fund who opposed the bail system on philosophical grounds did not respond to requests for comment. No, I'm sure. Yeah. The fund, whose slogan is free them all, argues that requiring cash bail for defendants to get out of jail before trial is unfair to the poor and ineffective at preventing crime. Really? So it would have been ineffective to keep this guy in jail. I think if you want to talk about anecdotal evidence from a hairdresser wearing masks, this would seem like pretty damn good anecdotal evidence to say, well, it clearly it would have kept him in jail, right? Yeah. It would have reduced crime. At least that one. That poor woman who was beaten and raped, just terrible.
I mean, imagine her family. I mean, her, right? Obviously, but imagine her family.
I think, to be honest with you,
knowing that this dirtball should be in jail forever, and probably should have been, put 6 feet under.
At what point in this country do we get to just like the old school 1850s posses? I mean, in all seriousness, not that I'm advocating for that again, but at what point do the American citizens say, okay,
enough is enough?
Well, I'll tell you where it happened. It happened in Florida. I don't have it in front of me, but in Florida and in places in the South, they're getting sick and tired of this. Yeah, in Florida, there was a judge up in the panhandle of Florida that released a rapist. Released a pedophile with no bail. The judge said, I'm not going to hold him on bail. I'm going to release him. You see this article? Yeah. The residents of the community hunted him down.
Didn't they?
They took his head off, and they left the body on the front steps of the judge.
Yeah, that all happens.
Honestly, maybe that judge will think twice again about letting a pedophile out. And again, I'm not condoning violence. I actually condone that. I do. You're going to release a pedophile like that's going to go out and hurt children?
Disgusting.
I think you take them out as a society now. I don't care what it takes, but of course, in Florida now, the police in Florida, they're not even going to look for the people that did it.
You don't get a second chance of that. And I think there's people that would say, okay, there's folks out there that may have done something that they deserve a second chance at, right?
Of course.
Okay,
Absolutely.
maybe somebody got a DWI. Maybe we could argue that's a second chance. Or maybe they got caught with a little bit of marijuana on them or something. That's a second chance. Even maybe, you're a young kid and you stole some Nike sneakers. Okay, maybe a second chance. You don't get a second chance when you hurt another live like that.
I would give people that are like, theft and burglary, I would give people like that second and third chances. Like, I'm okay letting them out on bail. I'm okay with having no bail for petty crime and things like that.
But when you
what I'm not okay with is rapists and child molesters. Like, what's the matter with you? You don't get a second chance
for that. You don't get a second. You've ruined somebody, completely destroyed somebody's life in many cases. You don't get a second chance. You don't get a second chance. There's something materially wrong with your brain that just cannot. We cannot afford to take the risk and let you back out.
But what happened in Florida, I think you're going to start to see happening across this country, and you're starting to see it now with some of these Antifa riots, right?
Maybe that sets a message that, you know what, enough is enough.
Well, in Colorado, they just marched a whole bunch of Antifa folks out. I think it was Colorado, where they followed a group of, I think, veteran women into a neighborhood, and the other veteran husbands were waiting for them. So it was a setup. Yeah. And they lured them in, and the veterans beat the snot out of these Antifa folks, literally. Yeah. I think a couple of the veterans were actually brought up on assault charges. But
Mom, call the police, call the police.
Exactly. It's exactly what they do. They go right to the police.
Call the cops.
They're out there defunded police. They're calling the police to protect them in their defunded police rallies. This is how ignorant these folks are, folks. You can't. Stupid is strong with this group of people. I'm telling you.
No, right.
Anyway, so on the federal level, to talk about Trump, and we'll wrap the show up here with some federal stuff. Trump came out this week and announced that he was going to, by executive order, extend unemployment benefits. And I have mixed feelings about this because
I don't. I think it's ridiculous.
Well, here's
totally
why.
Ridiculous.
I think it's ridiculous. I agree with that. But I think he's doing it for political reasons, right? I think he's putting the Democrats on the spot, saying, I'm going to get. Now he's put them in a position. It's the art of the deal, right? Where they're threatening lawsuits to go after him, right? To block him from providing extended benefits. The benefits, he needs to start advocating opening, right?
Yeah.
He needs to start talking about the low risks and whatnot. He's starting to a little bit. But I think this was more of a ploy to really back the Democrats into a corner and take away any talking points they have. But I think it's bad for the economy in the long term, for sure.
Yeah, and why I voted for him is because he didn't play those games, right? He didn't play those games. It was all about, we have a major problem in this country, and that is debt, right? We have a major problem globally. We're not alone. China's got 3 times the debt we do, lots of debt all over the world. But somebody needs to take a leadership role and say enough is enough. We're going to cut the size of government. We're going to live within our means. By the way, cutting the size of government, and we've been saying this for years, and it still holds true to this day. I'm so sick and tired of paying people on unemployment. When I took a jog the other day in Alma, right? Sunday morning, about 5 miles. I saw about 4 help wanted signs at some small manufacturing type construction companies there, right? I'm thinking to myself, how in the world could they need help when we're at 11% unemployment rates? How could that possibly be?
Right.
We are dying to try to find a maintenance person that we can call once in a while to help us at our office to fix certain things, right? Every paint guy that team that we've called to try to paint, they're weeks behind. Carpet people, weeks behind. Construction people, weeks behind because they can't find people to work. How could that possibly be with 11% unemployment rates, right? Well, it's because we continue to pay these people to stay at home. We have to, at some point, we got to just say, okay, I got it. We're ripping the Band-Aid off. We're cutting expenses by 25% across the board because nobody can seem to figure out where it should cut from. So let's cut it 25% across the board, including, by the way, the military. When I say that, conservatives go, oh, man, there is tons of waste in the military. I've talked to people in the military. They say, Mike, they make us go on mountains and shoot the bullets at the last day of the month because we're not allowed to order new bullets unless they're all gone. So we need to ride the helicopters around the last day of the month because we're not allowed to order more fuel unless there are ways to cut. And I think certainly nobody would say you cut the troops themselves. They deserve every penny they get, if not more. But we have to start to right-size government and take a leadership role in this world to say, hey, enough is enough. We are going to come out of this. We'd be just fine. All you'd have to ask people to do is go to work. That's it. That's as simple as it is. We're going to stop going. You're not paying you to stay at home anymore. You need to find a job. Well, I assure you, if Glenn and I went out with resumes today, right now, within an hour, I would have multiple job offers.
For sure. No question about it. The sad part is, outside of maybe a Mike Pence and a few others, Rand Paul, there's nobody. The Republican Party now is our big government idea is better than the Democrats' big government idea.
Including Trump, apparently.
But anyway, so the good news is at least Pence is trying to stop, and he did a great interview. I'll play it in a second. At least stop. The states are trying to hang on as long as they can. They have to milk this COVID until the election.
Yep.
They have to stuff the ballot box to cheat as much as possible.
Yep. And hopefully they get bailed out.
Well, the hope is, I think the Democrats' game plan is this. We're gonna push for mail-in ballots. We're gonna stuff the ballot box as best we can. We're gonna cheat at the post office. We're gonna cheat by harvesting ballots. We're gonna cheat everywhere we can. If we can just get it close to where Biden doesn't lose in a landslide, then we can file lawsuits to contest the election, and then we can remove Trump by using the courts to get him out. That's their only chance, folks. The only way that Trump can win this is by a landslide.
Steal from the federal government to shore up all the states that have been mismanaged.
Exactly.
A lot like General Motors did. Right?
Exactly.
When you look at General Motors, been mismanaged for years. The unions have completely destroyed it in a sense with their aggressive pensions and the company wasn't able to pay for it. Well, guess who ended up paying for it, right?
Yep.
Obama wins. He gives them a gift back. The gift is, here's your money to shore up everything. You're fine. And they go back as...
and screw the shareholders, screw the bondholders, screw everybody involved.
And screw the taxpayers. They still owe the taxpayers.
Right across the board, everybody got screwed. Well, in this case, the Democrats now want like $1 trillion for the states.
Right.
That's outrageous.
$1 trillion.
I mean, come on. Seriously? Right. So let me play this piece from Mike Pence. This is a great Fox News interview that he did where he just nails it. Like, we're just not going to bail him out, and good for him.
That's great.
Look, the president's made it very clear there's going to be no bailout for badly run states in this country. I mean, the truth is that many states run by Democrats for decades have run up massive deficits, massive debt. And I heard the other day that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are calling for $1 trillion to our states. When in fact, literally, we've got on the table, more than $100 billion for education, another $100 billion to help our states. But President Trump has made it clear we're not going to let liberal Democrats and the radical left use the coronavirus pandemic to bail out states that have been running deficits and debt for decades. We're going to stand up for taxpayers, stand up for fiscal responsibility, even while we get resources to states at the point of the need. One of the points.
I got to tell you, I'll cut it there. We have to get him out speaking more.
I agree.
I got to be honest.
I agree.
I think Pence is fantastic when it comes to getting the message across. Yeah. Exactly.
And I want to hear him say it much more than just coronavirus. I want it across the board. Stop spending.
I think that's the message
time to shift the. I shouldn't say now's the perfect time. It's been a perfect time.
For a while,
the last few years, it's been 2% unemployment rates, 3% unemployment rates. It's even better now, folks. If you want to go get a job, go get one. They're out there.
Yep.
Go find one. You'll find one real fast. You just got to get off your ass and go get it.
This is the campaign message that Trump and Pence need to get out there. He needs to get Pence out there as much as he possibly can to do a lot of his campaigning for him. Trump has been deprived of his rallies, which is what the media just couldn't help themselves with. Do you remember the first election of Trump in 2016? Trump got billions of dollars in free media coverage because when he did these rallies, he would say inflammatory things. He loves to play to the audience. He's really good at that. And as a result, Brian Stelter over at CNN couldn't help himself. They just couldn't possibly not talk about it. And so he got all kinds of free press. Well, this time they have found a way to take him off the campaign trail, get him out of those rallies, right? And now, again, protests are okay, but you can't have a rally. By the way, he just trolled the media classically this week. I mean, if you missed that, folks, I'll see if I can find that clip quick to play it. That was just awesome. He goes, well, I see all these people here aren't wearing masks, some of the media asked. He goes, yeah, well, they're here to protest you guys. They knew you guys were coming. So they're here basically to protest. I thought that was great. Yeah. And, just right
more
on
and more
point.
people need to do that. And I've been saying this for weeks. Please, if you're a business owner, every single week on this podcast, every single week on a radio show, we're talking about another business that's gone, right? Another restaurant that's gone. Somebody in the service industry's gone, right? Another retail outlet's gone. At some point, you folks all need to stick together and say enough is enough. They can't stop you if there's power in numbers, and you're not doing that. You're hiding from these health inspectors. You're all scared of them, and I get it. They have the power over your liquor license, but they don't have it if you all do it together. If you all get together,
I think they'll put them all to business.
Enough,
I think they might.
Yeah,
I think these politicians are so ignorant. Let's
all open up together, Glenn, without our liquor license. They shouldn't even need a liquor license. You shouldn't need a license to sell a beer to somebody.
You need a license to cut hair.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a license to do everything in New York.
All band together and say enough is enough. You can take your liquor license. It's fine. We're just not paying it anymore. Good. Go. We're all in this together. And if they all banded together as a team, all of us in Erie County are sick and tired of it. We've had enough. You'll survive and make it through. You're not surviving anyways, right? This is not going to stop until they take over power. It's not. They're just going to continue to go and go and go. And even at this point, I mean, months ago, if you would have said, look at the rates are down where you've got a better chance of getting dying from a shark attack than you do dying of COVID now in New York State. And yet we're still crushing these businesses.
Yep.
And you'd never in a million years, you'd say, well, if the flu was down to this level, do you think they'd be making people wear masks and social distancing at restaurants and all the stuff that's going to put them out of business? You say, no way. There's no way they'd do that. Yeah, they're doing it.
They're doing it.
So stop letting them.
They're doing
Stop
it.
letting them.
So regulation crushes businesses, right? It's not just taxes. It's regulation. It's safety or lack thereof, things like that. But the regulation in New York is, just give you an example how brutal it is, okay? Now, this hasn't passed yet, but a Democrat lawmaker in Albany is proposing mandatory 500 classroom hours so that hairdressers can wash hair. 500 hours of course time.
Oh my
so
God.
that they are allowed to wash hair. That's
stop.
how. Now it's not going to pass because it's just. But that's how New York State.
Did you see the?
Well, you're right. Who knows?
That he's passed through. I mean,
laws.
He is just
executive orders. They're not even laws. They're decrees.
That's right.
I decree that you can no longer open. I decree that gyms can't open. I decree that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, folks.
Yeah.
Cuomo is a petty dictator. He can't take criticism. He won't take questions. And anybody that questions him, they go right after, right? He gets a lawsuit. He loses. How disgusting is that? He loses the lawsuit. The judge puts an injunction to allow weddings now to proceed at 50% capacity, not just 50 people. And the son of a gun steals their liquor license the day before. That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's when you need to just reopen.
Tyranny is what that is.
That's my business.
Tyranny.
I'm just reopening. I'm just reopening. I'm ordering. I'm saying.
Well, you'll put that out of business too. You'll put Arrowhead out of business, right?
Yeah.
Nice golf course, good place, right? We've played there a couple of times. I'm not a big golfer, but we had a couple tournaments there. Good business, right? Employing people, right? They'll be gone. They'll be gone too. There'll be nobody left in New York. And then Cuomo and de Blasio, who I won't be reelected.
I don't know about that.
No, de Blasio
I don't know about that.
No, I
don't know about that. I don't know about that, Glenn. I'll tell you because you know what? I'll tell you why. Because the good people are getting the hell out of here.
Well, that could be.
And what is left is garbage.
Well, they get what they get, right? They get what they get.
What is left is trash. I hate to say that. That's what's left. And we've been saying that for years. No way he's going to win. No way he's going to win. No way he's going to win. Yeah. Can it get worse? Oh, yeah, it can get worse. Absolutely.
Well, de Blasio's a flat-out communist, right? He's an absolute dyed-in-the-wool communist is what he is. If he could run it like Cuba, he would run it like Cuba. And Cuomo's not much better.
If de Blasio was outside of New York City, I'd say no way. But in New York City, what really sucks is geographically, we say it all the time, New York State is a great place, right? It's diverse, but it's pretty conservative outside of the cities, right? You've got the city of Buffalo, you've got the city of Albany a little bit, and then you've got New York City. Maybe a little bit of Rochester, but really, truly, everything else is conservative. These people think like you and I, and they've been abused, based on Carl Bellino wins 90% of the state, and he loses the governor's race. He wins 90% of the state geographically and loses because the 18-mile stretch
Governor
is
Cuomo's
crushing
counting
the
votes.
state. And now what's happening is the monster, as you've pointed out, is coming back to haunt them, right? See, everything was okay because Wall Street was there.
Right.
And we had these billions of dollars. And you can't operate without Wall Street. The whole world needs Wall Street. Guess where Wall Street's moving? Palm Beach, Florida.
That's right.
And this is only going to accelerate it. It is.
Oh, it is. We started with that.
Oh, yeah.
Right here it is. Right here. We started with that whole New York City relocations accelerating at a substantial pace.
Right. But the biggest thing is going to be the re-changing or the moving of Wall Street. And as Wall Street starts to move, and now you have billions and billions of dollars that had to flow through that, right? And we had to have the traders. We had to have the floor. Not anymore. Now we can do it all over computers. And now we're realizing, geez, we don't even need as big office buildings. We can do it from our home, right?
Yep.
Boy, should I pay 0% state tax or 10%? Should I put up with all these regulations?
You just
and this
wait
garbage?
until now,
or should I maybe I'll be worried about my daughter getting mugged on the way to
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Or should I relocate to Palm Beach? Ding, 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 Mr. Cuomo. That's where they're going. They're leaving. Bye-bye.
Now that it's not safe, that's the key, right? As soon as
$70 billion will be nothing, Glenn. We're 60, 70 billion in the hole. It'll be peanuts.
Well, Pence is right.
Years.
The federal government shouldn't be bailing out states. Somebody on Twitter said to me, well, Florida's next, so you just watch how Florida has trouble. No, Florida's not going to have trouble. They won't be like New York. You know why? I said this to respond to the guy on Twitter. Because New York went into the crisis with a $6 billion deficit. Florida went into the crisis with a surplus.
Yeah.
That's the difference, folks. If you're already weak, right? It's like the people with weak immune systems, right? If you have a weak immune system or you're elderly, COVID gets you. Well, guess what? The economic depression gets you when you're going into an economic weakness and you're going into an event like a COVID. And that's New York State. That's Illinois. That's California.
Top that with this, because Florida reminds me a lot of us, right? We keep money on the side. So when the economy has a downswing, not only are we protected and not only are our employees protected, but we have extra resources to market and make sure we're getting in front of our clients, doing all kinds of counseling and mentoring and talking about what's happening. And we always add on more clients in those downswings, right? So we end up coming out of the downswings better off. Florida will come out of the downswing better off. I assure you that the bars and grills and restaurants and all that stuff that are leaving New York State, many of them are going to reopen up. They're just not going to open up here. They're going to open up in a place like Florida, and Florida's going to come out of this financially better off. New York State, not so much.
Yeah, no doubt.
So much.
All right, folks, let's wrap it up there. And again, if you need us throughout the week, you can always call us at the office, 833-FIN-GUYS, or go to our website, thefinancialguys.com. Remember, if you like what you heard, and I'm assuming if you're still listening, you did, hit the bell button below if you're watching it on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button so you get notifications when we come out with new content. And please hit the thumbs up button. And do us a favor, if you like the podcast version, give us a positive review on the Apple, what is it? At the Apple Podcast Store. If you can give us a positive review, that would be super helpful as well. We certainly thank you. And then, of course, listen to our radio shows every Saturday from 1 to 3. We're on WHAM 1180 in Rochester, 850 WFTL in Florida, and then, of course, our flagship station, WBEN AM 930, News Radio 930, right here in Western New York. So, again, check out our radio shows. You can find out all the stuff that we do, not only on radio, but on social media, as well as a podcast and YouTube video on our website at thefinancialguys.com. Thanks again for listening and watching, folks. We appreciate it. On behalf of Mike Lomas, I'm Glenn Wiggle. We'll talk to you on Saturday.